Don't dislocate your arm patting yourself on the back.
Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Darksiders 3 Apocalyptic difficulty video walkthrough. This is our path through a part of the early area that's going to lead to a church, and then through there we're going to meet Pride, who is one of the sins that you can't take on immediately, because you can only fight Pride apparently once you've killed all the other ones. I don't really know how this works, because Pride is one of the easiest sins in the game, but it's just one of those arbitrary safeguards. And the path that I'm showing here leads to one of those luminous visages. I get bad detection though right now, so I have to recover this, but I do a pretty decent job of recovering it, because this is awkward as fuck, dude. I don't think the platforming on these swing beams feels very good. It can look and feel better when it works correctly, but there's a bunch of detection problems with it when goofy things happen. And I don't understand. I don't know why there's more than one point to hook to. I think it should be just handled by the game. The game should just handle it, and it doesn't. But when you come over here, you need the force ability to get through this doorway, and I didn't realise. Through this doorway, guys, is a chunk of adamantine. And you need one of those to upgrade your whip to the maximum level, which is plus 10. It's the equivalent of a slab in Souls games. You know, those games that this game wishes it was. Oh, this is interesting too. Watch this. So you can't drop to that level because you fall for too long. But if you do the rapid descend using the dodge, it lets you get away with it. Or if you jump onto this wood, that works too. But for some reason, I think if you fall for a certain distance, the game decides to do the killing animation, which is what it did then. And do you notice how it took a chunk off my life bar? Falling in this game is bizarre, and I hate it, right? And here's why. Minus the invisible guy around the corner, always fun, be careful of him. There's some new enemies coming up here as well, guys, so be careful. The fall damage in this game is proportionate to your HP bar. So the first time you fall, it usually does a lot of damage. The second time, it does a lot of damage. The third time, it doesn't do any damage. Or it does the last bit of damage, and then stops doing damage. It's really bizarre. It does about 70% of your max HP, but no more. So it will hurt you all the way up to a point, and then you will never take damage again at that point, because it can't kill you. So they've made it so that fall damage is a pain in the ass, but it will never actually finish you off. Yet what if you want it to? You can't do it. So I'm going to be using a gem called Balanced Enoch, or Balanced Enochian, whatever you want to call it. And it benefits from having my character in 25% HP or lower, which means that my bar is blinking and the game's telling me I'm about to die. When I do that, I get a massive damage increase. I can't get to that by killing myself, by throwing myself off the edge, because the game won't allow it. The amount of areas where it would benefit you if you could actually get to critical HP by throwing yourself off a building would be astronomical, but it just doesn't do this, and I will never understand any game that gives you the opportunity to do more damage at low life, but then gives you no option to get to low life. The amount of times in this game I have to fuck off and get something to beat me up and then go back and then fight a boss is too high. You shouldn't have to do that. If you put these abilities in the game, you should give people the options to get to them. Why doesn't it, when you equip it, why doesn't it put you to 25% life? Why does it enable people to have their cake and eat it too? It should be risk versus reward. The moment I put that gem on, I don't want to have full life. I want to be fucking dying. I don't want to have to stand in front of some spastic lizard and get it to slap me 5 times because the game scales apparently, even though it really doesn't. It's just certain enemies are stronger than others. So anybody who's telling you guys that the enemies scale so you never feel strong are incorrect. Because there's an enemy at the beginning of the game that took off half my HP bar, and then later on, when you go back to it, it has to hit me like 9 times to kill me. And the difference being is, I'm stronger. He's not stronger, he's the same. So the enemies don't scale to you. They just have very specific amounts of incremental differences, and then the enemies hit like trucks, so everybody thinks that they're all scaling and you never feel strong, but it's not true. You can go back to the first area in the game and kill things in one hit. You couldn't kill them in one hit at the beginning, you had to hit them like 10 times. That shows that you're stronger than that area, so the areas don't scale. And if they do scale, I apologise in advance, but I don't think they do. I've not seen evidence of that happening. I've just seen evidence of people getting really angry because they're taking more damage than they think they should. Which, that's what Darksiders 3 is. Darksiders 3 is the game where you spend the entirety of it going, Jesus Christ, how much damage did that just do? That should have been the title, but I heard it wouldn't fit on the box. So it makes sense, as I ambiently kill the small friendly bug, which I didn't mean to do. But Very bizarre. The amount of bizarre things in this game is off the charts. And you might be thinking, well, Chris, I know of a lot of games that enable you to have a benefit when you're dying, but don't have items that get you to being dead. And those are bad games too. Like, there should be a way of hurting yourself. One of the things I love about Yakuza is you can buy food that kills you. Why you would do that to most people is bizarre and off the charts, and they wouldn't recommend it, right? Why would you willingly want to lose HP? But if you want to get into a range that increases your damage, you buy that food. And that's how you get around it. Some games that have checkpoints, you know, good games, games from the long, long ago, they will save your HP status on the entrance to a boss fight. So you can intentionally go into a fight with no life, and then when you restart, you have no life. Most games don't do that anymore because they'll just heal you because the games have got really convenient like that. And sometimes it can be good when you want to heal, but when you want to be low life, it can be a pain in the dick. Fist of the North Star, that game that came out recently, was a great example of this. The second to last boss, if you take in critical HP, after the cutscene it heals you to full every single time. You cannot carry HP into that fight because the game heals you. And that's a game that never heals you either, so it's one of those really bizarre moments. Like, when you go in the Colosseum, an area where you want to be healed after every fight, because the whole point of being there is to fight and you get killed really quickly in the Colosseum, doesn't heal you. When you die in the Colosseum and you start another fight immediately after, you have no life. You have 1 HP, because it doesn't heal you. Yet, if you want to do that against the boss, you can't do that. It's just bizarre. It's such an interesting thing. And I would love to see games give the player the option. Like, they could have an NPC who taps you on the shoulder to kind of like get you in, you know, get you pumped up and prepared for the fight, and then he gut punches you and it does 99% damage, so dumb people like me can get an instant critical HP to do good damage. Like, there's so many ways that it can be handled, and there are some games that you have to get really creative with. Like on Dark Souls, seeing as how we keep mentioning it, because everybody else that reviewed the game did, and it's quite obvious why, because this is a bad Souls clone, and a weak Darksiders in many ways, and yet still there's a lot of fun to be had, and I do recommend you try it, because I think that there's a lot of people that will like the game. Which was quite the divergent topic starter, but, alas, in Dark Souls, if you fall off things from a certain height and at a certain speed, you can damage yourself. There are also spells like Power Within that hurt you. You can throw shit at a wall to get poisoned, and that will hurt you. You can do all kinds of things. In Dark Souls 3 there is a sword that stabs you in the stomach. A sword where you can stab yourself and deal damage to yourself to get you into a range that will trigger the red Tearstone ring. You could even go and smack a bunch of things with the Chaos Blade to hurt yourself to get into Tearstone range with that. There are tools to enable it to be successful. You could even block an attack with a shield that doesn't have 100% block to do just enough damage to not kill you but put you in the right range. Many people have done creative things getting into Tearstone range because that's just the universe we live in. Dark Souls 2 had more than 1 Tearstone ring. Oh, by the way, guys, there's going to be a transition coming up here because all I'm doing is a suicide run and I died. So, all I'm doing here is smashing all the graves for the souls and stealing the items. There's no reason to fight anything here unless you want to farm, and we don't need to. But in Dark Souls 2 there was 2 Tearstone rings. The Tearstone ring in Dark Souls 2 is so fucking worthless, it reminds me of Fury's Ledge Grab. Why didn't one of them work like it usually did, and then the other one put you to the HP threshold? Then you have a ring if you want to have it for an emergency, and a ring if you want to actually be in that, you know, remnants of your HP threshold. I like the idea of equipping something that makes me vulnerable, that makes me powerful. And that's my favourite way to play in video games, and it's the reason why you see me doing a build that's going to, at the end of the game, have like 60 strength and 1 HP. Most people in this game will probably boost HP more than any other stat, because when you die in 1 hit, on normal, you start questioning what the fuck is wrong with the game, and the biggest and easiest option at that point is to inflate your HP. Everyone's going to do it, guys. It's just natural. It's natural because you're not used to dying so quickly, especially in a Darksiders game. The reason why the Souls comparison comes up so frequently is because Souls is the only game these days that has the moxie to fucking kill you. Most games these days just pat you on the back, give you achievements, and send you a cutscene to the credits. So when you do come to a game that kills you and then slaps you in the face and then pisses on your body and then burns you and buries you and digs you back up and somehow goes into some kind of strange Faustian pact to resuscitate you, just to tell you that you failed and then make you load and come back in, At least then it has the privilege of giving you a fucking checkpoint.
Our mission,
Whereas
gifts,
we don't even get that here.
and our solitude.
And another thing people have been criticising. People have been criticising Fury's voice actor. Why? She's absolutely perfect. She does nothing wrong the entire game. Her performance is absolutely fine. She does everything she can with what she's given, and what she's given is second to none garbage. There's almost nothing of worth in any of her dialogue. It's cliched, it's full of tropes, it's exactly what you expect from half-assed writing, right? But you can't blame the voice actor. The voice actor does it fine. She sounds like a badass warrior girl who's going through a bit of a crisis and an identity, identity crisis and everything. Like, don't say the voice actor is bad when the writing is worthless. Like, a lot of the interactions in the game are borderline passable, but for the most, there's nothing for the actors to do. It's not even hammy and stupid enough for them to have a really good time, which is why when the bosses turn up and they start being really verbose and really grandiose, that's when the voice acting sounds really good, because they're able to actually have some fun with it. But for the most, all you do is get talked at by the watcher, who says, generally plot-related things, and then Fury just kind of responds with angst that steadily and steadily declines as she gets a little bit more wizened by the end of the game. And then people are shitting on this, and I don't really understand. There's nothing to shit on. It's like, if you're going to say it's bad, say the writing is not that interesting. Don't say that the actors did a terrible job. If you give an actor a piece of shit, it's still a piece of shit, They can do the best thing in the world. It doesn't matter. It has to have a good script and good writing and make sense. There's one line in this game that legitimately cracks me up, and that's the line that's on the intro to these videos. The line where she goes, don't break your arm patting yourself on the back. When she said that, I legitimately laughed out loud. It really made me laugh. It's my favourite line in the game, and I just didn't expect it. The writing up to that point had been so just like null and void that when that line turned up, it just tickled me, and thus it became the intro, and I'm glad it did, because it's a fucking good line. But, you can't say that the writing is this Shakespearean event, because it's not. So expecting these voice actors to turn this into something it isn't is just dumb. I don't understand that criticism. Do you guys understand that criticism? Do you not like Fury's voice actress? Like, what do people want? It makes me question. And the only thing I can think of, which is probably a good criticism, is that Liam O'Brien that voices War? Fantastic voice. Just absolutely, it's like you're in a cathedral and he's just echoing down from the heavens because his voice is such ridiculously awesome. Great voice, great actor, very angry, right? Cool voice, pretty tough act to follow. Death, Michael Wincott. Smokes so many cigarettes, the only thing that's still alive is his fucking throat, somehow, and he sounds majestic because of it, right? A walking throat on corpse-like strings has this wonderfully damaged voice box that sounds awesome. One of my favourite sounding voices, Michael Wincott. Great actor as well. Combine that with, cheesy, shitty writing again, and Death is borderline obnoxious, but sounds amazing. Those are two tough acts to follow. What were they going to do, Were they going to get Jennifer Lawrence to shout at people? Well, they didn't have the budget. They didn't even get Michael Wincott back because they didn't have the budget, which I'm still pissed off about that. I want to see, right, guys, here's a quest for somebody with a lot of time and video editing capabilities. Play through Darksiders 2 with sound effects turned off, music turned off, and voices turned up, so that you can record all of the lines that Michael Wincott voices for Death, and then afterwards cut them up so that you can take the exact words he says in the Lust cutscene, and then you can edit your own version of that dialogue and plant it in there and actually have Michael Wincott, because all he says is the world is up to you, Fury, or something like that. It's really simplistic, and it probably is in there somewhere, and I reckon that can be done, and if you do it, you're the hero that we need and the hero we deserve.